Alright, so we're gonna go back to Jack 2 because I discovered something, and to be fair, this is something that's been known about for a while, so it's not like I am actually the one who discovered it, but it's at least new to me, so I thought, you know what, let's just make a video on this. So in the opening cutscene of Jack 2, we start out in Sandover Village. Now, one of the things you have to remember about this game is all of the cutscenes, or at least I'm fairly certain most of the cutscenes, they are all done in engine, which means we are quite literally starting in Sandover Village, and if we use some dev codes and debug menus and stuff, we can actually explore Sandover Village. So that's what we're gonna do. And I'm actually gonna kind of walk you through it if you want to go and, take a look. I think this works on all versions of the game, so yeah, we're just gonna go ahead and continue without saving. And I guess we could probably do it here, but I kind of want to actually get in the village just to, kind of emphasize the point. But I'm pretty certain we could pause it right here, enter the codes, do all the fun stuff, and it would be fine. And you know what? That should be fine. Okay, so for the first code, we need to enter into limited debug mode. And to do that, we're going to hold L3, which, unless you're playing on a Vita or some weird controller, is more likely than not basically just pressing down on the left thumbstick. And then we're going to press up, up, down, down, left, right, XX, square, circle, square, circle. Now, I have not hit the final button, but we should hear a sound. And there we go. We are now in limited debug mode. When I was testing this a little bit before, I don't know if I was entering something wrong, but it took a few tries, so I think there might be a little bit of jank there, but it could also be my setup. I really don't know. Not for certain, at least. But you know it's active the moment that the beep happens. Anyway, next up, we need to enter into full debug mode, which is basically just the previous code, but backwards. That is going to be holding L3. We're going to go circle, square, XX, right, left, down, down, up, up. And there is the beep. All right, so now that we are in full debug mode, now what we're going to do is interrupt the cutscene by entering free camera mode. So basically what this is going to do is going to detach the camera from the cutscene, which is going to kind of break the cutscene. And we're going to do that by holding L1, R1, L2, and R2. And then we're going to press exit. Oops, I did something wrong. Hold up.
It interacts somehow with that large...
Oh, and I think there we go. And then we are just going to hit triangle to skip the cutscene, and I think everything might have broke. Okay, so everything crashed. That is always a possibility. I'm just going to go ahead and enter those codes again real quick. Okay, here we go. I did the same exact thing. For some reason, the camera didn't break horribly, though. So, for whatever reason, the camera is way down here. But the thing is, we just need to go up into an inbounds area. Because of that R1, R2, L1, and L2 code, if you are not in free camera mode, it puts you in free camera mode. However, if you are in free camera mode, and you enter it again, it spawns Jack basically wherever the camera is actually focused onto, which means, here we go. We just need to unpause, and like that, we are in Sandover Village. Actually, we have this little ramp, which obviously is not, normally here. Although, my God, being here without music is so creepy. Like, it's weirdly unsettling. Anyway, we got Kira's room back there. This is normally where the, the zoomer that she's working on is. Obviously, the little pad's power whatever thing is not quite there. There are going to be some textures that are, not quite working. We can see that the warp ring is kind of lower texture, whatever. So obviously there are going to be some, little differences and stuff. NPCs are not going to be here, and one of the other kind of weird things is this bridge. Well, it's kind of not really there. In fact, there's a lot of stuff that is not here because obviously, things like water and like collisions and detections for swimming and stuff, they never really intended for this to be an area that you would actually play in. So, there's no water in the fountain. And this is where things get a little interesting because this shows a little bit about the actual game's, development. Wherever there would normally be a, a scout fly box, there is now a Crimson Guard box with basically some dark eco in it. And I'm pretty certain that's mainly just because the, I think the internal game ID for basically, those two items, I think they overlap. So they probably just repurposed code from the previous game and, just changed like properties of it and that kind of stuff. But I think, there's one more crate over here. God, this place is so creepy. Being like a ghost town. It feels almost like, almost like a Twilight Zone episode. Or, like a nightmare Jack is having. Where it's like, yeah, he did finally kind of go back home. But there's just something that's not quite right. So yeah, obviously this is only Sandover Village. So, the magma, is it Magma Canyon? Lava Canyon? I'm completely spacing. But it's just simply not in existence. And the thing is, like, you could take my word for it, but I kind of want to show it off a little bit. This is kind of a really cool thing. And I also realize that not everyone has the means to, just start up this game and go explore. So I kind of want to show it off just a little bit. So yeah, there's, if we kind of try going down into the area, we just fall through everything to our deaths. Although when we do exit free camera mode, we do set a checkpoint. So if we were to go here, for example, I believe, at least if I understand how debug mode works, I believe we should respawn back. Okay, never mind. That is not how that works. Again, I'm not the most knowledgeable on this kind of stuff. Oops. Oh, well, now it might work. And it crashed again. And we're back. All right, maybe we are not back. Okay, we are back in again. I'm not going to mess with that other camera thing just because it seems to cause a lot of problems. But I do still want to look around a little bit because, well, sometimes we get like some things like these where you can tell it's kind of only partially loaded in. Obviously, since it was a cutscene, like, you didn't really need all that detail, and again, it was a PlayStation 2, or I guess is a PlayStation 2 game, which means they didn't really have all of the crazy amount of resources to, basically just throw at everything. Although, wait a minute. Actually, you know what? Before I attempt entering a code that should maybe unlock the hoverboard, while we're over here, let's just go ahead and take a quick look at the precursor oracle. Because, yeah. Alright, anyway. Oh, this involves plugging in another controller. Well, maybe I won't. Although I could. I'm curious if we technically have any of the, like, Dark Jack abilities. Something tells me probably not. We probably haven't even unlocked Dark Jack itself. So, I don't know. Oh, and would you look at that? It looks like the sculptor, even after finding his muse, never quite finished his masterpiece. How absolutely tragic. Although, wait a minute, now that I think about it, there was a scout fly over here. Wasn't there? Okay, maybe only some of those crates load in. Oh. Right, yeah, no, this ends like right here. I thought it would go like around at least a little bit more, but I guess not quite. Anyway, let's just Superman fly down real quick. And then I do want to test something really quick. And by really quick, this might actually take a little bit of time. I want to fill up the dark jack gauge just to see, you know, if anything even happens. Although judging by how this is going, it'll probably just crash again. So, yeah. Actually, then again, that code that I was saying that would unlock the jet board and stuff, it does say that it'll also give, like, full dark jack energy. So, give me a second. Alright, so I got the second controller plugged in, and we should only need to press L3 and X, which means... Hey, look at that, as well as all of the other goodies. And... Hey, there we go. Although, now that I think about it, that might actually... that might actually have changed the order of stuff, so we might... Oh, right, the bridge isn't there. Oh, this is so creepy. I don't know where the abyss begins, but I know it's... Oh, there we go. Although, wait a minute, that means we have the hoverboard, which, right, doesn't work on the water because the water doesn't have collision or detection or, you know, whatever. And obviously there's no speedboat. I was saying it when I was going through Jack 3, but there are certain areas in Jack 1 where, like, I think it'd be really cool if you could just, like, play around with the hoverboard. I don't think there's going to be any grindable surfaces here because that would have been, like, you know, something they would have actually had to go in and add manually. Oh, and look at that. I think normally there's, like, water here. Which means, unless just the water texture is gone, you know, similar to, like, the fountain and stuff. Maybe they changed that texture a little bit. Not really sure. Wait. Was this always? I actually don't remember what that little portion looked like. But yeah, this is... Obviously, there's not really a lot here because you were never actually meant to, you know, explore or even exist in this space. It was really only here just for the cutscene itself. In fact, if I remember right, I'm pretty certain one of the developers for Jack 2 even came out and, you know, said that much. But it is still really, really cool to see. And the kind of cool part is these debug codes, they work in Jack 1, 2, and 3, which means if there is any place that maybe you want to see explored that you normally can't quite get to, or maybe you're just, you know, is just a little bit difficult to actually get to those areas, let me know. I think it'd be kind of fun to do a little bit of a series of just exploring out of bounds areas. Although I did just realize there is one more spot that I didn't quite look because Okay, yeah, so the big energy laser is not here, and then obviously this is a little, a little different, I think, than in just the base whatever. And there's not even a waterfall. Oh, that is a little trippy. I think we're just gonna fall. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, I guess that's Sandover Village. I can't think of anything else to go look around and explore. But, you get the idea. Now I guess there's only one last thing to do. To simply watch the sunset on this, I was gonna say dreamscape, but again, with how empty and how quiet everything is, it might actually be a nightmare. Man, there she goes. The sun sets on Sandover Village one last time.